11. Harry McDowell. In 2021, police in North College Hill, Ohio, appealed to the public for help capturing a wanted fugitive named Harry McDowell. According to a Facebook post, the suspect was accused of breaking into his mother's house at least twice and assaulting and threatening her. He faced charges of aggravated burglary, menacing by stalking, domestic violence, and criminal damage. The day after the post appeared, a Facebook user going by the name Stephen Keontae Urkel posted a photo that appeared to show McDowell sitting in a red car and holding his own wanted photo. Police confirmed to local station WOWT that the man in the photo was McDowell and reported that he'd called them and told them he would not be turning himself in. It's unclear whether he was ever caught. 10. James Sutton. It's hard to imagine someone with distinctive face tattoos living on the run as a fugitive for very long, but an Australian man named James Sutton managed to elude law enforcement long enough for them to post a picture online seeking the public's help with tracking the fugitive down. Naturally, social media users were entertained by what some described as the Sharpie drawings on his face, which include heavily tattooed designs and the word "beast" in capital letters across his forehead. The Murray River Police near the Victoria and New South Wales border issued the alert after Sutton failed to appear in court while out on bail for assault and property damage charges. After the appeal was posted, he changed his profile picture to a photo of himself with his face partially covered in an apparent attempt to taunt the police. Sutton was captured after 2 weeks on the run and was taken into custody pending the outcome of his ongoing case. 9. Anthony Akers. When a wanted man named Anthony Akers went viral in 2018, he was struggling with active addiction and had spent the last 12 years in and out of jail. Police in Richland, Washington, appealed to the public for help tracking him down on a failure to appear warrant, but they didn't have to look far to find him. Akers commented on the post, stating, "Calm down, I'm gonna turn myself in." He followed up with another comment, apologizing for his commitment issues and promising to show up by lunchtime the next day. If he couldn't get there on his own, he said he'd call for a ride. He kept his word, and while thousands of amused social media users eagerly awaited an update on the situation, the Navy veteran was at a serious low point and had come to realize that he needed help. Akers later told local station KEPR that the warrant was issued after he missed a visit with his probation officer. His downward spiral continued after that, to the point where he was facing 6 to 8 years in prison. By then, he said he'd accepted the prison was going to just be a normal part of his life. But the court gave him an alternative: to participate in a new Veterans Court program, which focused less on punishment and emphasized the importance of getting meaningful treatment for former service members. Akers took up on the offer and worked hard to get his life back on track. He got sober, got a job, and regained the independence he'd lost through drug use. A year and a half later, he graduated from Veterans Court. And while he remains on social media, he said he now uses it to inspire others who are battling addiction and going through the same struggles that he once saw no way out of. 8. Christopher Spalding. When Georgia's Rockdale County Sheriff's Office posted its latest 10 Most Wanted list on Facebook in 2022, a man named Christopher Spalding left a comment saying, "How about me?" The agency responded stating, "You're correct, you have 2 warrants, we're on the way." Later that day, the sheriff's office shared a photo of 40-year-old Spalding being taken into custody for 2 counts of felony violation of probation. The post included a caption thanking Spalding for his assistance with his own capture. Following the arrest, the department reminded the public that its most wanted list is based on the severity of charges its fugitives face, and that being absent from it isn't a get-out-of-jail-free card. The memo also made it clear that even if someone's not on the list, the fugitive unit is still looking for them. 7. Kelsey Wood. A chaotic police chase in Los Angeles came to a highly unusual end in 2015 when a woman got out of her car and began dancing. The pursuit began at around 10 o'clock p.m. in the city's downtown area when officers suspected 25-year-old Kelsey Wood of driving under the influence and attempted to pull her over. She fled and continued to drive on the rims of her wheels after she ran over spike strips and blew her tires. When the car finally came to a stop, the young motorist got out and busted a move. Wood allegedly got back into the car, but the police took her into custody before she could try to drive away. In another incident involving impromptu dancing in LA, dozens of bystanders gathered in the street while police were trying to apprehend an allegedly armed driver they'd just disabled with spike strips. Officers ordered the crowd to get out of the way, but they ignored the command. As the frustration grew among law enforcement, two women began to twerk while the suspect leaned out of the window and watched with a seemingly satisfied look on his face. He eventually started his vehicle back up and attempted to drive off, but the police managed to block him into an alley and took him into custody. 6. Chloe Jones. 23-year-old Chloe Jones seemed more amused than scared when the Greene County, Pennsylvania Sheriff's Office named her as a wanted person in a Facebook post in 2019. She responded to the post with snarky comments, asking the agency if they do pickup or delivery. Jones was wanted for failing to appear in court on a misdemeanor assault case, but it was most likely her behavior on Facebook rather than the crime she was accused of that prompted other social media users to encourage her to turn herself in. People seemed rather put off by her attitude, which they described using words like immature, embarrassing, and trashy. The backsassing young fugitive revealed in the heated back and forth that her original charge stemmed from a fight she got into during a previous jail stint. She claimed that she hadn't shown up for court because her boyfriend was in the hospital. In her defense, she rightfully pointed out that none of the people bashing her had ever met her personally and didn't know her. The war of words backfired on Jones when tips came pouring into law enforcement. Police tracked her down in neighboring West Virginia and had her extradited to Pennsylvania. Since then, it appears as though she's sorted out her legal issues and moved on with her life. 5. Ulil Sakowski. In December 2019, 5 men escaped from Belgium's turnout prison by scaling an exterior wall and speeding off in a waiting getaway car. 3 of the prisoners were recaptured the next day, while another remained on the run for just a few weeks. The 5th escapee, Ulil Sakowski, managed to evade law enforcement for months. Sakowski's family was no stranger to law enforcement. His brother, Ashraf, was a notorious prison escape artist who carried out 3 high-profile escapes long before Ulil followed in his footsteps. Ulil Sakowski was sentenced to 2 years in prison in 2018 for drug trafficking and injuring someone in a shooting. By the time he escaped, he'd served a large portion of his sentence, so it seems nonsensical that he chose to escape. But he was wanted in his home country of Morocco for drug trafficking, and he knew that he would be sent there to face justice after finishing his sentence in Belgium. During his time on the lam, Ulil sent a letter to the directors of the prison he escaped from. The envelope contained his inmate ID badge and a postcard that said "Greetings from Thailand" on it. Authorities suspected that it was an attempt to deceive them into thinking Sakowski had fled the country. Fugitive hunters finally caught up with him 9 months later. He served the rest of his time and was extradited to Morocco. 4. Dean Manning. Instead of turning himself into police after skipping out on probation in Norwich, England in early 2023, a 4'9" TikToker and Facebook user named Dean Manning bragged to his followers about his ability to evade law enforcement. In one video, he could be seen walking past a police station while saying, "I shouldn't really be here, should I?" Another post which appeared in a private group said, "Let's see how long it takes for me to get caught." The 34-year-old also posted a video angrily clarifying that he's 5'3" in high heels and claiming that he would have surrendered if the police hadn't published the wrong height. But Manning's openness about his evasion of the law didn't work out in his favor. Members of the media and the public came forward with information that helped law enforcement track him down. Shortly before he was captured, he panhandled from his followers in a video asking for money to finance his life on the run. In 2022, prior to his more recent brush with the law, Manning was convicted of attacking his ex while high on drugs and alcohol and was ordered to serve part of his 18-month sentence in prison and the remainder in probation. When he failed to check in with his officer, he knew that it meant he would go back to prison, which is where he ended up despite his best efforts to achieve a different outcome. 3. Joshua Bennett. When police in Gloucester, England, posted a photo of a suspected drug dealer named Joshua Bennett on Facebook, along with an appeal to the public for information, the wanted fugitive wrote a smart aleck comment about he's 1 inch taller than specified and how law enforcement could have used a more flattering picture. He also posted photos of himself living life, seemingly without a care in the world. But his carefree enjoyment of freedom was short-lived. A few weeks after the wanted post appeared, officers spotted Bennett in public and took him into custody for jumping bail on previous charges of supplying marijuana and cocaine. He initially maintained his innocence, but ultimately pleaded guilty to the charges and was sentenced to 2 years in prison. In court, Bennett's lawyer cited his client's gambling addiction and other personal issues as mitigating factors for his behavior. But the prosecution saw this as no excuse for the negative impacts his drug dealing had on the community and was happy to see him put behind bars. 2. Armed and argumentative. A group of 4 men who were seen walking around Wyandotte, Michigan, armed with guns and carrying cameras weren't necessarily breaking any laws, but people found the display off-putting and called the police. The incident happened in 2022, during an era of unprecedented mass shootings in the United States, so when workers saw the men standing outside a medical facility, they didn't want to take any chances on their safety. Officers respectfully approached the group to discuss the report that had been made, but they were allegedly rude and uncooperative from the beginning of the conversation. Deputy Police Chief Archie Hamilton told the News Herald that the men demanded to know the officers' names, despite their names being displayed on their uniforms, and proceeded to provocatively squeak plastic pigs at the cops. According to Hamilton, it's not uncommon to see people acting like this. He described these types of groups as hiding under the guise of protecting the rights of American citizens, with ulterior motives to cause trouble, create confrontation with police, gain attention, and ultimately file a lawsuit in hopes to collect money. And while he acknowledged that the demonstrators weren't committing any crimes, Hamilton said that he didn't feel that the callers who contacted the police were overreacting, given the rampant gun violence in the United States. He also pointed out that because a lot of mass shooters record their crimes, it's especially understandable that people were alarmed by the men. If anything, Hamilton seemed annoyed that police have to deal with these types of confrontation seekers, which he said can slow down law enforcement's response to similar calls, including when an active shooter is involved. 1. Ezra Miller. After an initially successful start to a promising acting career, Ezra Miller descended into what appears to be an ongoing fall from grace that started around 2020. The talented performer, who identifies as non-binary and uses the pronouns they and them, became entangled in one of the most concerning controversies in 2022, when the parents of a young woman named Dakota Ionize petitioned for a restraining order against them. According to documents from the Standing Rock Sioux Tribal Court in North and South Dakota, Dakota's parents accused Miller of using violence, intimidation, threat of violence, fear, paranoia, delusions, and drugs to influence their daughter. Dakota defended Miller despite these allegations and criticized her parents' attempts to separate the pair, who were living and traveling together at the time. Authorities were unable to serve the protective order because they didn't know where Miller was, and the disgraceful Hollywood figure seemed perfectly fine with that. In a series of Instagram posts, they taunted law enforcement with messages like, "You cannot touch me, I'm in another universe," and "message from another dimension." One rambling message, which appeared to be yet another declaration of Miller not feeling accountable to police, began with the sentence, "I am shielded from negative people and their ill intent." Shortly after the posts appeared, Miller deleted their Instagram account, but screenshots continued to circulate, and it wasn't long before they landed at the center of yet another bizarre scandal. A few months later, they told the media through a representative that they're focusing on complex mental health issues and apologized for their past behavior. Thanks for watching. Would you rather have a doppelganger who happens to be a wanted fugitive in your area and is clearly relishing in their ability to elude law enforcement, or have your car in a wanted fugitive notice after lending it to a friend who didn't mention anything being wrong when they returned it to you? Let us know in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe. See you soon. Bye.